Everybody hates practicing. That's a bold statement, I know, but okay, maybe not him, but most people dislike practicing, okay? In today's video, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to provide a list of practice techniques that I will sort into whether I recommend or I don't recommend. These are ones that I use in my daily practice. Hopefully, this will help you be able to shorten your practice time and make it more efficient. Let's get right into it. Number one, slow practice. This is a given, everybody knows that it exists, but not everybody who knows that it exists uses it. To my detriment, I didn't use slow practice until a few years ago, and after that I can confidently say that my practice efficiency has gone up a whole bunch, like completely different ends of the spectrum, and that is why wholeheartedly I would recommend slow practice to anyone. I know there's a lot of people who say slow practice, oh, you have to be at 50%, but I think that it varies case by case. If you're doing a fast piece, like let's say Opus 10 No. 4 by Chopin, Forte, you would have to go probably 50%, or maybe even more. If you're doing a slow piece, like Chopin's Opus 10 No. 3, you wouldn't have to go 50% because it's already a pretty slow piece. I would just recommend only as much as like 80%. The rule of thumb is that you have to be able to convey every single thing that you want to convey at that tempo, and you have to be able to play every note clear and be able to sing every line. If you can do that at a certain tempo, that tempo is slow enough for your practice. It doesn't have to be 50%, it doesn't have to be 60%, it can be any percent as long as you are able to do what you want to do with the music. Another reason slow practice is so good is because you can use it anytime, anywhere, any piece. For a fast piece, slow practice will help it become more fluid and clear, but for a slow piece, it's also important because if you play a slower piece even slower, it'll test your ability to make a singing line. It's easy to sing at a faster tempo. It's harder at a slower tempo to maintain the singing line because there are spaces between the notes. Number two, hands separately. This is one that I suspect everyone already does because whenever we come across a piece with difficulties in both hands, for example, let's say Bach's Prelude and Fugue in C minor, Book 1. You're likely to take the two hands apart and combine that with slow practice and first perfect, let's say, right hand, and then perfect the left hand. This ensures evenness in both hands, but one thing that we neglect to do is that when we put it together, we forget to practice it slowly as well. I know this is tying in slow practice as well, but this is also important because not only do you have to make sure that the hands are even by themselves, you have to make sure that they come together nicely, and it's not like this. Hands separately can also be used when you have a melody in the right hand or a melody in the left hand, and you want to be able to practice the melody by itself so that it sings well. For example, Chopin's Opus 25 No. 5, the wrong note A2. In the middle section, the left hand has the melody. If you play the right hand with the left hand together, it'll interfere with your singing with the left hand. So you should take out the left hand by itself and practice it separately until you are happy with how you are singing the left hand, and then add in the right hand. Hands separate is a definite recommend. Number three, playing with rhythm. This is one that everybody recommends, and I'm sure you've heard of one time or another, and I recommend it as well because it is very, very good for evenness. In case you don't know what rhythm practice is, let's take an example. I use rhythm practice in Opus 10 No. 1, the Waterfall Etude. Rhythm practice is when you take an even section like this, and every note is the same length, and you purposely distort the rhythm so that it becomes not even. I don't know how this works, but after you play with the rhythm and play it in an uneven way, and you go back to the even way of playing it, it becomes super even. There are many ways you can do this. My favorite ones are doing short, long, short, long. Long, short, long, short. I also like to do lengthening the first note. and then the second note, and then the third note, and then the fourth note. Of course, you can go farther than this, but for me, these guys are enough, and it gets me through my daily practice. Number 4 is recording yourself and then listening back at it. Now, this is one that I feel like often gets overlooked, but I feel like it's very important and it's very useful. Recording yourself is a good way to keep yourself in check, because when you're playing at the piano, what you hear is different from what the audience hears. And by recording yourself, you can hear what the audience hears and maybe pick up on little mistakes that you don't hear when you're playing. Also, when you're hearing, you sometimes begin to focus on the technical side of things and you don't listen as much, and therefore you miss little aspects. By listening back, you are for sure going to catch them. Famously, Yun Lim, during his practice, most of his practice is just recording himself and listening back at himself. I suspect that's why his pieces are so polished and perfect, and that's why he's at the top of the world right now. In my experience, recording in small sections is better than recording in super large chunks or even the whole piece. Because when you record in little sections, you are able to fix exactly what you wanted within that little section. When you record the entire piece, you forget what you wanted to fix, and then you have to listen back again, and then you forget again, and then you have to listen back, and then it becomes a whole cycle. That's why I wouldn't recommend recording in large sections. The most I would recommend is a page. This way you are also able to spend a bit more time at the piano and actually practice a bit more, because recording takes a long time. Number 5, sing it out. Now, I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about this one, but basically what it is, you're going to take the melody and you're going to sing it out. And basically this allows you to hear it in the human voice, which is generally agreed to be the most natural way to create a melody, and this way you can put that into your music and try to recreate it on the piano. And also it gives you some creative ideas where you can use rubato and where you can maybe do a little bit of tone change. It's pretty useful. Now, the only thing I'll be careful with this is don't sing while you play. It's okay if you sing and then start trying to recreate that, but if you play and you sing, then unconsciously during performances even, you will begin to sing, and sometimes that can be quite distracting. It also blocks you from being able to listen to your own melodies, so focus on what you're playing on the piano and just use your singing as a reference. All in all, it's a great way for your melodies and phrases to feel more natural, so definitely recommend. Number 6 is what I call lightning and thunder. It sounds dumb, but you'll see why in a moment. So basically, this technique helps with practicing large leaps and movements across the keyboard. For example, your hand is at the top of the keyboard, and in like a span of a 16th note, you have to get to the bottom of the keyboard. This helps with that. What you're going to do is you're going to play the note that you're starting from, or the note that you're jumping off of. Immediately after you play the note, you're going to go lightning fast and go to the note that you are going to play afterwards, or the note that you are landing on, but you're not going to play it. This is why I call it lightning and thunder, because you don't technically have to play the note that you're going to. You just have to get into position for it, and if you do play it, it's going to come a bit later, so that's why it's thunder. This sort of practice, this sort of lightning fast movement, helps your hand get used to the position change and basically what you're going through on the way there. So here's an example from Mazeppa when I was practicing. You can see how in Mazeppa, I'm going from the octaves down to the triads, but I'm only practicing the way there, and I'm not actually pressing down on the key. You can also use this technique when you have long arpeggiated runs on the piano and you have to move your hand from one position rapidly to another. For example, if you have an arpeggio like this, you can practice it using the lightning and thunder method. But you're not going to play these arpeggios note by note. You're going to split them into chords, and you're going to practice them using the thunder and lightning method by going from one chord to the other super fast. How you're going to do this is you're going to split them on the places where you have to change hand positions. And this way you have a natural board chord, and then the natural board chord after that. Probably is going to be easier to explain with an example. So here's Chopin's Opus 10 number 1, A2 again. And this time we're going to practice it using the thunder and lightning method. Number 7 is actually listening to recordings of the pieces that you are playing. I know a lot of people discourage this because it affects your creativity and you sort of copy from the recording, but you can mitigate that. What you're going to do is you're going to figure out how you are going to play this piece first. You should at least have this piece committed to your fingers before you actually start listening to recordings. This is where generally people make the mistake and they listen to a recording and they're like, oh, they're playing it this way and they're famous, so I have to play it this way. That is completely not the case. You're listening to recordings for inspiration, for little ideas that you can take. You're not going to copy the entire thing because you are you and the pianist who is playing that recording is themselves. So only use recordings to find little nuances that you might not have found yourself, and maybe find hidden lines that perhaps you didn't see, and maybe the occasional wrong notes. Always try to figure out a passage by yourself. Unless you're super confused about it, you can go listen and then get some ideas from it. But don't copy the entire thing now. Also, always have a music score in front of you when you're listening. And especially when you're listening, not because you're confused about anything, but because you want to hear the entire line and get ideas from it. Make sure to look at every detail, including any dynamic, any accents, any crescendos, decrescendos, staccatos, legatos. Make sure to see everything, and most likely, listening to a recording, you will hear something that the pianist saw on the score that you didn't. So, using all the right techniques, I would say listening to a recording is a good thing, and the pros trump the cons. So, definitely recommend it. Number 8 is picking out the melody and only playing that. Now, here's an example with Scriabin's Second Sonata. So, within this, this is the melody. So you pick that out and then you practice it by itself. And then after you've done that enough times, you put it back in with everything else. The same thing also happens in the left hand after a few bars, and this time there's other stuff in the left hand as well. So what you want to do is you want to take out the melody in the left hand, and then you practice only that. After you're done with the melody of the left hand, you can put it together with the rest of the left hand. After you've done that enough times and you can still maintain the same line with the rest of the left hand, then you can add in the right hand as well. Now, perhaps you can already sing the melody without picking it out. Well, good for you. But for me, sometimes it's tough. And if I pick it out and I sing it and I listen to it, and then I go back and put in the other stuff, then I'm able to hear more clearly, and therefore I can play it out more clearly within the context of everything together. For me, when I have a complicated section that has a lot of notes and maybe something I have to bring out, this is one of my go-tos and definitely on the recommended list. Number 9 is practicing with staccato or legato touch. Personally, I like to use staccato when there's a section that has to be well articulated, whether it's staccato or detached, or it has to be clear, completely clear so that everybody can hear every single note, or it has to be very even. For example, Bach Staccato number 2 in E minor, the fugue section. This part has to be almost played like a machine. This is why I use staccato when I practice it. Also, staccato is good when you are likely to miss notes, because staccato forces you to be able to play every single note down to the bottom of the key, and therefore, once you're finished with it, you won't be missing notes anymore. You might be surprised at this, but staccato is also good when you want to shape a melody. I think that it's the space between staccatos and the fact that you hear the volume of each note so clearly that helps you shape whatever melody you want to shape. So, if you want to make a melody sing out after you have practiced it with singing it out by yourself using your own voice, perhaps you could use staccato and put it actually into the music. On the other hand, legato is very useful too. When you have a legato section, you should practice it using legato. Duh. Do they still use that word? Maybe they don't use that word anymore. Oh no, I don't know. Geez, so keep up with it. But then also, legato is best for creating a singing line. If you can sing something in staccato, it doesn't mean you can sing something in legato. Singing something in legato is way harder, but if you can actually do it, you will be able to sing it in any circumstance. Legato is also important when you're trying to figure out where to use and where not to use pedal. Pedal sometimes can turn some things into mush, but if you can use finger legato, then it will not be a mush. In the end, you should practice almost everything, even if it's only a little bit, with a legato touch. Even if it's a marked staccato, you can still, and you should still, create a stinging line if you practice it with legato. It is worth noting that in large concert settings or large concert halls, playing legato may not be the best idea because the echo could mess with. But if you practice legato, even in times where you have to play it maybe staccato or detached, you will still have that sense of legato and still have that sense of line and fluidity that if you didn't practice legato, you wouldn't have. And people can actually tell the difference between that. That's why legato and staccato touch is such an important aspect to have in your practicing, and I promise you, you will gain something from it. Number 10 is playing with the loud and the soft. I found that if you have a section that you need really soft and really clear, like this section in Beethoven's Opus 11, number 22 Sonata in B flat major. If you can't seem to get that section really soft and really clear at the same time, what you can try is if you play that section super loud with every note super to the bottom of the keys, and just sort of, if you can, just smash it. Smash it. You should also make sure that while you're playing it really loud, you should also keep it very even. After you've done that, you can gradually turn the volume down and also speed up, and then you will find that that place will have turned super quiet. You'll be able to play it super quiet as well as super clear. For me, it always works. For any section where I need like very soft and really clear texture, I just sort of play it really loud. I think it's because you're getting to the bottom of the keys and you're making sure that none of the notes are uneven or unclear. And that really helps when you go back to the faster times. Soft practice is also fun. I also do the complete opposite, where I take a really loud section and I play it really soft. I usually do this because I want it to sing. I want it to have a good line, a good melody. When you're really loud, sometimes it can be hard to voice everything and make everything sound nice, but when you're soft, it's way easier. And once you get that sort of feel, you're able to increase the volume bit by bit, and gradually you will get that sense, even if you're playing really loud. Here's an example for practicing in very soft dynamics. There's this section within the Scherzo No. 4 by Chopin. It's very loud, but also I want it to be very melodic and like a melody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that section and I'm going to play it very quiet first, and then make it sing like a melody as well. After finding that line and remembering it, I'm going to put the volume up to the original volume, and I'm going to try to play this section with the melodic line as well as the loud forte. Now, what I've said above is really everything that I do really recommend wholeheartedly. We're going to move into the things that I feel like time to time you should do it, but not always. Number 11 is to let it sit. Yeah, this is like sort of like sourdough bread, where you sort of let it sit for a bit and it gets better. This is obviously very good for any piece that you want to play for the long run. If you want to play this piece for your entire life and let it mature, of course you should let it sit. Play it for a month, let it sit for a month, think about it, and then play it for another month. Don't just like sort of rush through it and expect you to get it like super mature and super amazing for like the first month. It's not gonna happen. Another good time to let it sit is when you have a really hard section that you just can't seem to get. And then you're just super frustrated and you're like, oh, I'm gonna give up on piano. Don't do that. Instead, go to another piece and then let it sit for like half an hour to an hour, and then come back, and most of the time you will be able to play. Most of the time all your work will have paid off, and just with a little more practice you'll be able to get it. Just because you can't get it in the moment doesn't mean that you can't really play. It's just at that moment maybe something was stopping you. However, there is another flip side to this, and often the results are sometimes 50-50, because sometimes if you let it sit for a little bit, it'll just sort of like die on you. and all your work will have been for nothing, and then you just sort of can't play it after like a day. So that's why it's not on my definite recommended list. If you're facing something that you really can't do, don't give up and just let it go for a little bit. But don't do this too often unless you're just like struggling with like the entire piece. In that case, maybe you should move to an easier piece that you won't be struggling at, or sort of see if you can practice only a little bit every single day instead of trying to get it really fast and being impatient. Number 12 is run-throughs. I have mixed feelings about this one because run-throughs are good before competitions, and you have to sort of get yourself very well prepped, and you have to get the piece in your head and everything in your fingers. But then also what you're doing with run-throughs is that you're playing through the piece without really stopping to fix mistakes. Really, a lot of the sections that you already know, they're just taking up your precious practice time. So you're actually spending a lot of time at the piano and not getting as efficient results as you actually could be getting. Also, within the piece, there are definitely passages that you're not, it's not perfect and you have mistakes in, or there are things that you didn't know you had mistakes, but you actually do. And what you're doing by playing them through is that you're just giving them another chance to deepen their memory in your fingers, because muscle memory, it will remember that, and it will be really hard to fix it later. Even if you're trying to get a piece into your memory using run-throughs, it's actually less efficient than actually listening to the piece, because if you're playing it, you will be focusing on your technique and the things you want right, instead of actually listening to the chords and basically the structure of the piece, which will help you memorize it. The only times I really recommend run-throughs is before a competition. Before a competition, you should play every piece that you're going to play in the competition. Run it through every day. And because you're not really going to change anything the week before the competition, and if you leave the piece, it's going to die. It's also a good idea to record your run through so you can listen back at it and then fix things as you go. Don't listen through the whole thing and then be like, okay, well, I have these problems. How am I going to fix them? Listen to small sections and then fix them, and then listen to another small section and then fix it. So since it's under only like small circumstances and certain timings that I would recommend run-throughs, it's not on my definitely recommended list. You can still do it time to time though. Number 13 is hyperspeed. This sort of technique is only meant for fast passages, and it's only for fast passages that you really have mastered and you can play without any tightness or tenseness in your hands. This is where you go faster than your originally intended speed, and you practice at a really hyper fast speed, so you can solidify your original speed even more. Now, this is very important. You're not going to play at this super hyper fast speed. You are not practicing at this super fast speed so that you can go faster than your original tempo. If you want to go faster, it's often better to be more clear, and it will sound faster by itself. You also don't want to go too fast with the hyperspeed method, especially in places of extreme technical difficulty, which ironically is where most of us like to rush. For example, this is the coda of the first ballade by Chopin. Normally, I would go at a speed like this. If I'm practicing using hyperspeed, I would go at a speed like this. Notice how it's only a bit faster than my original tempo, and I'm still struggling a bit. This means that by no means should you be playing this section at this speed in any performance. If you can't get to a faster speed, don't force yourself. Hyperspeed may not be for everyone. It's also a failsafe in case I go overboard and I play too fast in the performance because my adrenaline kicks in. Obviously, it's better if you never activate the failsafe, because the tempo that you usually practice at is usually the best tempo for the piece. If you go faster than that, it might feel rushed, it might feel impatient, and you might be classified as immature. So because hyperspeed can perhaps cause rushing and also could cause damage to you if you play it too fast and too tight, I don't really recommend it for day-to-day use. It's only really for sections where you just feel like, oh, if I play faster than my original tempo, I will fail. Number 14 is metronome practice. Now, I completely agree that at early stages of piano, metronome practice is very good for you. You will get a good sense of tempo, and you can play in time anytime, anywhere. It's amazing. But at a higher level of piano playing, if you practice with a metronome day in and day out, you will become a machine. There will be no changes in your playing. Your rubato will be torn to shreds, and your music will just become motionless. Now, that's not to say that metronome practice doesn't have its pros. If you're like me and you use too much rubato, your timing is sometimes off, and you have no idea at all where the beat is, then I recommend you as well to use metronome practice. It's also good if you need complete evenness in a section. Of course, don't overuse it or abuse it. Just do it time to time in select areas, and it'll help you. Metronome practice also forces you to slow down. You have to start from somewhere and gradually up the tempo. It also gives you a sense of accomplishment that no other practice technique can give you. After you're done your grueling 30 minutes of the metronome and you've gotten your passage to the tempo that you actually wanted to, you feel like you can do anything. You feel like you're on top of the world. It is amazing. There are many ways to do metronome practice. You can go up one grid at a time. You can move up by grids of 10. My favorite type of practice is using an electric metronome because it's more precise. I go up 10 and then down 5. So let's say, for example, you're gonna start at a bass tempo, and this bass tempo is going to be tempo where, as mentioned in the slow practice area, you're going to be able to sing everything and put everything you want into your music. You're going to start at a bass tempo of, let's say, 60, and you're aiming to go to the target tempo of around 100. What you're going to do is you're going to go from 60 to 70, and then to 65, and then to 75, and then back to 70, and so on, all the way to 100. Okay? You need to end at 100 and not go to 100 and be like, okay, we're done. You have to go to 105 and then go down to 100, and then you're done. The reason why this is my favorite way to metronome practice is because the speed increments are small enough that you don't feel overwhelmed when you go to another faster speed. But also, you get to hit every single speed at least twice. And in the middle, there's time to let it sit, and basically you can let your fingers absorb the data, and then once you get back to that tempo, you will be able to play it even better. Also, towards the end, it uses the hyperspeed sort of technique, and you go past your target tempo, and you play at a faster speed. But it's not too fast, only slightly faster, and it reinforces your target speed, as well as prepares for a little just-in-case failsafe. But because of the previously mentioned downside, I do not think that metronome is good for every single day practice, unless you have a really big problem with timing and tempo wise. All in all, metronome is good for time to time, okay? Don't overuse it. Alright, if you've gotten this far in the video, here is where I transition to the practice techniques that I've tried before and have not worked out well. So I definitely do not recommend the following ones. Number 15 is fast practice. This is when you try to learn a piece as fast as possible and you go suddenly to the target tempo without even using slow practice or hands separately. In the end, this is detrimental to both your fingers and your final product. Your final product will be full of holes and it will have so many problems that once you try to go back and fix it, it'll be harder to fix because it's already ingrained in your muscle memory. It can also lead to danger of hurting yourself because you're putting your fingers in the sudden stress of a new piece and a new environment that they haven't ever been to before. No matter how easy it is, how slow it is, or how good you think you are, always take the time to slow down and put the time and effort into it to actually perfect the piece. Leading on from that, tense practice is even worse. Tense practice is where your hands are tense and they're hurting and you're still playing. Stop. If at any time your arms hurt, you need to stop and then figure out why your hands are hurting. Otherwise, you are going to hurt yourself and you may be paralyzed for life. So if you have any sort of pain while practicing, please do not continue. Consider slow practice, consider hands separately, consider trying to work out your movements so that you can play in a natural way and not hurt yourself. Okay, no one wants you to hurt yourself. Number 17 is practicing for a long time, like I did in my previous Mazeppa video. It's not good for you. Within the context of long time practicing, it's very especially bad to practice a loud section or places where your hands are extremely stretched out, such as repeated octaves, for a long time. If you do that, after a while, you will sense soreness and perhaps even start to hurt because this is your hands are getting tired. So please, no matter how in a rush you are, don't use these 3 practice techniques, okay? Try to use the ones above, okay? These guys will save you time, provide you with a better end product, and it won't hurt you, okay? These 3 guys are dangerous. Number 15, 16, 17, they are dangerous, okay? So be careful, don't do them. And now finally, number 18. This is a little bit of a bonus, practicing with pedaling, okay? This is something that I don't recommend, only unless you have sections that you want to really figure out the pedaling for, and you're going really, really slowly, then okay, you can practice with pedal. But for the most part, don't practice with pedal. The truth is, pedal hides things. It hides little mistakes or nuances or places that have little cracks and crevices in your playing that you maybe didn't realize when you were playing fast. And if you're playing slow and using the pedal still, you still won't realize it. If you are able to sing a piece and make a piece just sound perfectly natural and beautiful without the pedal, this piece will end up sounding amazing in no matter where you are. So stop relying on the pedal to hide your little mistakes. Actually go in with your slow practice, hands separately, rhythm practice, and fix all these little mistakes. And then pedal is only an ornament that you put on a Christmas tree. So before we end the video, I want to maybe share a few tidbits about maybe how to make your practice more interesting. I know I said before that everybody hates practicing, but the reality is that we have to practice. And how can we make that process more enjoyable for ourselves? Well, first is that you don't want to spend too much time at the piano at a time. If you're aiming to play 4 hours in a day, you're not going to play 4 hours in a row. And you're going to get bored real fast. And then the next day, you're not going to play any at all because you're just going to be like, oh, I'm so tired from yesterday that I don't want to play any at all. Split it into smaller parts and you'll be able to get through it sooner and faster. And you'll be able to motivate yourself easier to get to the piano and say, okay, I'm gonna play this 1 hour and then I can finally go rest. Number 2 is pick pieces that you like. Don't just play pieces that you have to, maybe to get through an examination or to please your teacher or something. Pick pieces that you have an interest in, that you can put yourself into and be like, okay, I want to practice this. It doesn't have to even be classical. It could be a Ghibli song. It could be a video game music. As long as it's something that'll keep your mind in piano so that you can maybe use it even as a segue into your actual classical practice. Number 3 is keep bringing in actual new music. Don't just focus on old stuff all the way. If you're preparing for an audition, it's good to play your pieces over and over. But if you play your audition pieces for 2 years, you're gonna get sick of them, okay? Make sure to keep a new set of pieces coming in so you can also build up your repertoire as you are slowly polishing your audition pieces as well. And finally, make a plan, make a habit. Make a habit to get to the piano at a certain time every single day. Make a habit to play a certain amount of hours every single day. Once you get into that habit, you'll find yourself going to the piano even when you don't realize it. Okay, I've gotten through all of the practice techniques that I have on my list today. Here's the big piece of paper that if you want a reference to as to which one I recommend, which ones I kind of recommend, and which one I don't recommend. This will also be at the end of the video for a little bit if you want to take a screenshot or something. So it's okay if you missed it. Also, disclaimer here, I'm not saying that all of these practice techniques are for you and will work for you. Perhaps you have a set list of practice techniques that you like and perhaps that you are used to. Don't just blindly take my advice. Always take it with a grain of salt. After all, you are you and I am I, and that did not make sense. Fundamentally, we are different, and what is good for me might not be good for you. So don't force yourself into anything, and always take this as just advice, okay? So I hope that this video has helped you. You can scroll back and listen to any section you want again and see which sort of practice techniques that maybe you want to implement. If you have any practice techniques that I didn't cover, you can post it in the comments and maybe you'll help someone out too. Thank you for watching today's video and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider subscribing and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!